Hey y'all, so here I am again, little old me, to tell you about some things that the news is barely, if at all, covering, okay? And I think by this point, we've all kind of figured out that the media is not going to cover things that directly impact Black people unless it's going to make us angry or outraged. But don't worry, I'm here. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. I really want to talk about this executive order that Trump signed the other day. So with this executive order, it basically establishes the Opportunity and Revitalization Council. So what this council does is work to entice and invite private investors and government resources into distressed communities and mostly otherwise forgotten about communities. So I'm going to let you guys see a little bit about that first.
In a few moments, I will sign an executive order launching a new White House opportunity. This is a very big thing that Tim and I and everybody have been working on for a long time. And Revitalization Council. This council will coordinate efforts across the entire federal government to deliver jobs, investment, and growth to the communities that need it the most. With the creation of today's council, the resources of the whole federal government will be leveraged to rebuild low-income and impoverished neighborhoods that have been ignored by Washington in years past. Our goal is to ensure that America's great new prosperity is broadly shared by all of our citizens. Our country is doing better than ever economically, and we're able to do this. Its efforts on opportunity zones, a crucial part of tax cuts that we passed last year. Under our new tax cuts, any distressed area that is designated as an opportunity zone will receive massive incentives for private sector investment, including zero capital gains tax on any investment held for at least 10 years.
Now, you guys, this is going to establish a zero capital gains tax for investors for 10 years. That is huge, okay? That is a big deal. Now, when I first, saw the press conference, I have to admit I was a little bit skeptical and weary because there can sometimes be a very thin line between revitalization and gentrification. So I ended up going to whitehouse.gov, and I just wanted to kind of just mention some of the things there that stuck out to me, trying to learn more about this council and what they will be doing. So this is whitehouse.gov, executive order on establishing the White House Opportunity and Revitalization Council. So the purpose is 52 million Americans live in economically distressed communities. Despite the growing national economy, these communities are plagued by high poverty levels, failing schools, and scarcity of jobs. So it basically goes on to talk about how this is going to be a continuation of some of the tax cuts from 2017. And it talks about some of the people that will basically make up this council. I want to go on to just point out a few of the things that stuck out to me. So the council shall, to the extent permitted by law, work across agencies giving consideration to existing agency initiatives. Assess the actions each agency can take under existing authorities to prioritize or focus federal investments and programs on urban and economically distressed communities. Assess the actions each agency can take under existing authorities to minimize all regulatory and administrative costs and burdens that discourage public and private investment in urban and economically distressed communities. Regularly consult with officials from state, local, and tribal governments and individuals from the private sector to solicit feedback on how best to stimulate the economic development of urban and economically distressed areas. Coordinate federal interagency efforts to help ensure that private and public stakeholders, such as investors, business owners, institutions of higher education, including historically Black colleges and universities, can successfully develop strategies for economic growth and revitalization, reduce and streamline regulatory and administrative burdens, including burdens on applicants applying for multiple federal assistance awards, help community-based applicants, including recipients of investments from qualified opportunity funds, identify and apply for relevant federal resources, and make it easier for recipients to receive and manage multiple types of public and private investment, appropriate methods for federal cooperation with and support for states, localities, and tribes that are innovatively and strategically facilitating economic growth and inclusion in urban and economically distressed communities. Now, as I read that, from what I can tell, it does look like they are very serious about taking into consideration initiatives of agencies already working in these areas, taking into consideration local candidates who are trying to invest in these areas, taking into consideration how this affects colleges and universities in the areas, particularly historically Black colleges and universities, and making it easy for local residents to not only get government aid and funds, but to do that in multiple ways. So if you go on to finish reading this on whitehouse.gov, it even goes into talking about the metrics for making sure that this is working over time. So far, I think this is really interesting. I'm excited to see what happens with it. I'm going to be keeping an eye on it. And if you are in these areas, I think Baltimore is one of the main areas that they are going to be revitalizing. If you are a business owner, an investor, this is definitely something that you want to go and find information on and look more into, because obviously the media is not going to let you know about it. You're going to have to do the research and the work for yourself. So like I said, if you are a Black investor or business owner and you want to invest into these areas to basically reap the benefits of these tax breaks, then this is really going to be an opportune time. So really just keep your eyes on that. I'll be keeping my eyes on it to see what happens with it. So we have to keep in mind that these are places and areas that would otherwise have been ignored for some of them decades. And so the profit motive is a hell of an incentive. And so we should definitely see business increasing in those areas, which also brings jobs to those areas. And oftentimes in these areas, there is crime, because of the lack of jobs and the lack of opportunities. There is really terrible education, because we know education comes through the property taxes of these areas. So hopefully this will be a win for these areas. They will be able to really focus on the residents of these areas. This really helping and impacting the people that are in these places. So like I said, well, that's pretty much all I have to say. But don't forget to subscribe. Leave your thoughts below. What did you think about this? Did you even know about this? And yeah, see you in the next video. Bye. And so it's something I forgot that I just wanted to mention really quickly. I would like to point out the fact that within less than 3 months, Trump has already addressed 2 of the issues that Kanye West brought up in his visit to the Oval Office. The first one being prison reform / mental health for people coming out of prison. The second one being bringing jobs into urban and inner cities. Now, I would just like to point out the fact that a lot of y'all black folks that are completely against black people being ridiculed and demand at the hands of white people and non-black people, you're hypocritical because you're completely okay with it when it's people like the Young Turks talking down on Kanye West because y'all don't necessarily agree with him or you don't see the moves he making. I would just like to state for the record that a lot of y'all are a bunch of clowns and you ought to be ashamed of yourselves. Good day.